Okay, this is a public hearing on Schools First of the Board of Trustees of United ISD. The time is 12:17. A meeting is scheduled for 12:15. Today is December the 10th, 2019. We're present at the Student Activity Complex in Laredo, Texas. Number one, present is Judd Gilpin, Javier Montemayor. Call this meeting to order. Number two, I open the public hearing. Is there a motion? Yes.
So moved.
Second to open the public hearing. And I guess, Mr.
We have a real quick
Flores.
presentation, yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Montejo and Mr. Gilpin. The Division of Finance annually has to review the financial statements that have been expressed in opinion by our external auditing firm. This information, although it's called the 2019 report, the information is from the 2017-2018 fiscal year. This year, United ISD received an above standard opinion. The way it's broken down by is you get an A superior rating if you have 90 points to 100 points, but you also have to have a yes on every critical indicator, and we're going to go over the critical indicators in a little bit. You can get an above standard if you have an 80 to an 89, and here's where we fell to an 84. And as we get into the indicators, I'll explain why we received an 84 points out of 100. And then some districts might get into the meet standards where they can range from 60 points to 79 points. And then you get an F if you get a substandard achievement. And this is obviously if you get below a 60, or if any one of the critical indicators, you get an answer of no. The way the indicators are broken up, you have 15. This is under modification. In the future, we're probably going to go back up to 21 indicators. But for this year and next year's financials, we're going to stick with these 15. 5 of them are critical. Those are the ones that you have to have a yes in order to continue. The solvency indicators, there are 7 of them. Solvency mainly means, is the district able to cover its liabilities with its assets? So you're going to see a lot of questions on assets to liabilities. They also have a few questions on the amount of debt that the district has, and can the district pay that debt? And again, we'll go through these indicators quickly. The financial competency indicators, this is kind of just seeing if the current management employees within the district have the knowledge to what it takes to run the business side of the school district. It's a little small, but these are the first 5 indicators. They're the critical indicators. Number 1 was the complete annual financial report, the AFR, submitted on time. If you look for 17-18, we submitted it 35 days early, and last year we submitted it 33 days early, so we beat ourselves by 2 days. 2A, was there an unmodified opinion in the annual financial report? An unmodified opinion is the best opinion you can get. It's a clear opinion. And for the prior year and for this year, we definitely got an unmodified opinion. 2B was the AFR free of, well, the AFR free of any instances of material weaknesses in internal controls. One of the key components when you get audited, they're going to test your internal controls. And I would say we passed with flying colors both years in 17-18 and in the prior year. Number 3, did the school district pay its debt in full and on time? We have never missed a debt payment or even paid it late. So yes, we passed that indicator. Number 4, did the district make timely payments to Teachers Retirement System, the Texas Workforce Commission, Internal Revenue Service, or other government agencies? Again, the district has never made a delayed payment to any one of these governmental entities. Every time that we run a payroll, we pay TRS, we pay the Texas Workforce Commission when it's due, and we definitely pay the IRS on time. So we passed this, and in prior years, we've also passed this indicator. This indicator number 5, and if you look, it's asking if the unrestricted net position is greater than 0. We've had a few GASB pronouncements. GASB is a General Accounting Standards Board. They govern how we do our accounting. We report all this information to TA, but we're governed by them on how we post entries to the account and what they want us to add to the financials. They've been, in my opinion, getting a little excited with the latest pronouncements. They used to issue 1 pronouncement every 5 years. Now they're doing 2 or 3 a year. So they're realizing that they're having an impact on our financial statements. Last year we had a positive unrestricted net position of $128 million. When we get to the business committee meeting, We go over those financial statements, you'll see that this year we don't, but it's because of new pronouncements that they've issued, and they're asking us to recognize UISD's portion of TRS. And those are millions and millions of dollars, and it does have an impact. So TEA got a little wised up to this indicator and did not score it this particular year. And our understanding is they're not going to score it again next year. Now we're going to get into the solvency indicators. Here you're going to see a lot about assets to liability and just our overall debt, and then we can make our payments. But number 6, they want to know, was a number of days of cash on hand and current investments in the general fund sufficient to cover operating expenses? We had operating expenses of $422 million. Cash with investments was $90 million. What they want to see here is, do you have at least 90 days of cash on hand for these type of expenditures? If you notice, we've only received 8 out of 10 points, because all of these points are tiered. You're going to get the total points of 10 out of 10. Then if you don't score so well, you're going to get 8 out of 10. If you don't score so well after that, it's 6 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 2 out of 10, and then 0. We fell in the 8 out of 10, and if you notice there, we pretty much have 78 days. To beat that indicator, we had to have more than 75 days, so we beat it by 3 days. Number 7, was the ratio of current assets to current liability sufficient to cover the short-term debt? Our current assets are 181 million, and our current liabilities are 69 million. In this indicator, to get the full 10 out of 10 points, you want to have a 3-to-1 ratio. So for every dollar that you have in a liability, you want to have $3 in assets. And the district is almost there. That's why we received 8 out of 10. The next tier to get 8 points was a 2.5 to 1 ratio. So we're very close to getting a 3-to-1 ratio and getting the full 10 points. Question number 8, was the ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets for the district sufficient support to long-term solvency? Okay. You're going to see that the long-term assets less the pension liability, those are those GASB pronouncements that I told you that we have to be accounting for with TRS. It's $499 million. Our assets are $741 million. Here, you want a smaller number rather than a larger number. They're really basically saying, of all your assets, what's that percentage of assets, of liabilities that you have to assets? And if you're at 60%, you get the full 10 out of 10. Well, UISD is at 67%, so we're just under the next indicator, which is 70. So here you kind of want to get lower and lower, meaning that you have less liabilities to your total assets. Again, getting it out of 10 is a decent score. We get to number 9. Did the school district general fund revenues equal or exceed expenditures? This one, we kind of had a little bit of an issue with TEA on this, number 9 and number 10, when we get to number 10. Everybody understands, everybody that I guess that has a business or pays attention to the business economy, you want to have revenues equal expenditures. No one wants to have revenues and expenditures expenditures exceed your revenues. You're not doing too well. When we present a budget to the board, we always present a balanced budget. That's why this indicator says equal to or exceeds. As you go through the year, this past year was 406 million in the revenue and 406 million in expenditures. We're going through the year and you're hoping to God you make the 406 revenue and maybe a little bit more, and that you're having savings and expenditures. So the question is valid. TA wants to know, do you have more revenues than expenditures? Earlier I mentioned that we're governed under GASB. It has nothing to do with TEA. It's an independent organization and it governs all governmental entities, cities, counties, and school districts. If everything runs smooth in the fiscal year, you're going to have your revenues and you're going to exceed your expenditures. When you're a district of need, as UISD was, especially in 17-18, we needed to buy more buses. We needed to update our white fleet of vehicles. We needed to update our band instruments. We needed to have an update in classroom equipment. So we issued a PPFCO, so nothing more than a loan, of $16 million. So TEA's formula for this is, do revenues are equal to or greater than expenditures? When you issue debt of $16 million, GASB comes in and says, okay, well, this is how you're going to post those $16 million to your financial statements. What they make you do is the $16 million of expenses go into your expense column. So now what we brought to you was $406 million in revenue and $406 million in expenditures, and they've added $16 million of expenditures. And you think, okay, great. What we'll do with the $16 million in cash that we're gonna use to expend these items, we'll put it up in revenue. They don't allow it. You have to put that money down here in what's called other resources for the district. So right off the bat, we're $16 million in the hole. So this particular indicator, you'll see that we got 10 out of 10, but this one had to get out of jail free card. It says, do your general funds revenues exceed your expenditures? But if not, then refer back to item number 6. How many days of cash on hand do you have? We had 78. Does that exceed 60? So that's why we got 10 out of 10. Because if you do TEA's formula of revenue over expenditures, you had revenue, expenditures, plus the $16 million of debt, but they wouldn't count the cash inflow as revenue of the 16 million to counter those 16 million. But we got saved because it says, okay, if you don't meet it, then we're gonna give you a second rule within this indicator and say, how many days of cash do you have on hand, and is it greater than 60? So we had 78. So we got 10 out of 10. When we go to indicator 10, here's where TEA's formula for determining debt ratio to cover your debt payments, they're gonna expand on the formula I just explained to you. They're gonna get revenues, expenditures, and remember in expenditures, we have $16 million of debt that we issued, and they do not recognize the other resources of 16, so we're already in the hole. Now here in this particular indicator, they do allow you to add back in the fund balance for debt service. It was $5 million. We have a healthy fund balance in debt service. But for this indicator, what they want to know is UISD's debt that year was to pay $42 million in debt. Most of that is bond payments. Everybody here knows what we issue debt. We're building schools. We have bond payments. I would say 37, 39 million is bond payments, and the rest are leases, PPFCOs, and other debt that the district has. So they look at all the debt and they say, okay, what we want you to have is 120% of that number. So for 42 million, 120% of that would be $51 million. As you could see, our calculation came out to 37. But again, remember, they're not allowing us to bring in the proceeds from the loan of 16 million. Otherwise, we would add the 16 million to that 37. We'd get all 10 points. Well, coincidentally, last year when I presented this to you, I didn't have to get into this detail because we got 10 out of 10 points and we moved on to indicator number 11. And the reason that we got 10 out of 10 points was because we petitioned the state. They give you a grace period to say, hey, if you don't like your score, write back to us and let us know. The exact same scenario unfolded in the 16-17 financial information. And we won the petition. We said, hey, we have other resources that GFOA, which is our governing board, and GASB, which is another governing board, is telling us you have to record their expense, but you can't put it in revenue. You have to put it down here in other resources. And TEA saying, okay, but we don't recognize that. So we petitioned 2 years ago, and the 3-panel member agreed and said, okay, we'll give you the 10 out of 10 points. So we hit it again. I changed the date on the memos and update the numbers and send it off, expecting we're gonna get, here we go, we have to explain it again. This time they didn't take it. So Lyda and I, we made calls with the right people at TEA and with some other business professionals that are very familiar with TEA and very well connected to TEA, and they said, look, with School First, once the appeal is final, it's actually even in state law that you can appeal. So you get this one chance, and why they took it 1 year and not the second year, according to everybody that we spoke with and that our experts helped us out that spoke with, they said just explain it as well as you can, prepare for next year, and move on. So hopefully if I've explained it as well as I can, we've already looked at next year's numbers. We should get a lot of points on this indicator. It's not going to hurt us next year. And I guess we just need to move on to number 11. So number 11 was a school district administration cost ratio equal to or less than the threshold. A district our side, we're allowed to have 11% administrative cost ratio. We're at 7.85, so we're doing excellent in that indicator. Number 12, did the district not have a 15% decline in student and staff ratios? We had a little bit of a decline, but it was only 2.3%. It was nowhere clear, close to the 15%. The last three indicators are the financial competency indicators. This is just to see if management understands the role that they're supposed to be playing. They look at three indicators, and as you can see, both years, we got 10 out of 10. 13 is looking at our PEEM submission. When you submit PEEMs, that's where all this data is going to come from. And the technology department submitted a PEEMS data file of 525 million, and I'm going to probably not use the right word here, of bits or bytes of information. And they only found 300 of those to be in error. That doesn't even register as a % error, so we pretty much got 100 on that score. Number 14 was the annual financial report, free of material non-compliance for grants and contracts. This kind of will go to every grant that we receive, federal funds as well. And for several years now running, we've never had a problem with how we handle our federal money or any other grant money that we get from the grants department and the federal programs area. So we're doing excellent there. All the years we get 10 out of 10. The last indicator, did the district take more than 1 year to pay TEA for any foundation school program overpayment? I kind of tell you all this every single year. I wish they would overpay us, but they never overpay us. And now that they didn't give us all the points in indicator 10, we may not send it back on time, but we'll see. But obviously, we don't want to blow this one, so we'll send half of the money back on time and keep the rest. But that's pretty much it. That's our financial condition for the fiscal year 17-18. If you all have any questions. All right, thank you very much.
Alex, any public comments?
All right, then I guess we're adjourned on the, motion to close the public hearing. Get a second. Second. Public hearing's closed. We are adjourned.